It's time for Gardening Inside Out, a live show offering you plant advice for any space in your life. Introducing your perennial hosts, David Bates and Josh Carey.
We do that annually, don't we?
Well, you know. Yeah.
Hey, welcome in, everybody. It's Saturday morning. It's 0800 here in the Middle Tennessee area.
It absolutely is.
It means it's time for Gardening Inside Out, brought to you from the Bates Nursery and Garden Center facility and the Green Room Studios inside the Bates Nursery and Garden Center
Absolutely.
facility.
We're really grateful to be here this morning.
It's
Grateful
nice.
to have everyone aboard. Mm-hmm. And we've got perhaps a dampish kind of a gardening day. We'll get into that here. And this page isn't working for whatever reason. Let me try that again. And, you know, you would think I would catch all these little things before we get on the air.
We were chatting, though.
But and I didn't log into my account. So here we go. I got preoccupied or post-occupied, as the case may be. Anyway, we are going to have showers today, and those showers are going to be less substantial than...
That was me.
Okay. Those showers are going to be less than what they were supposed to be previously. Mm-hmm. We're only going to have perhaps 0.4 of an inch of rain. It is not going to be the 1.5 inches that they were talking about even a day ago. So let me see. There we go. We got something up here. I'm going to skip over here to the radar and show you that.
Traffic is light, by the way, on the Middle Tennessee highways and byways.
I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how this big band of showers got beyond us, but it did. And we still got some audio feed.
I don't know what that was from.
Anyway, this has gotten beyond us. We only had this little small amount in whatever forms in behind it. So we're not out of the woods rain-wise, but it is going to be a little damp, albeit mild today. It's not going to be anything uncomfortable at all. 62 degrees currently here in the Music City. So, and the forecast for the week looks to be improving conditions tomorrow, albeit a little cooler. I mean, we're moving into the middle part of December. Nothing unexpected about that. So it's a good day to get out and shop at your local garden center that happens to have indoor shopping.
Yes, it does.
You know,
quite the mall area that you've built back there.
well, you know, it's
You
nice
get
to
your
be
laps
able,
in,
it's
too.
nice to be able to extend the season a bit, and you know, people need to. I think, you know, getting the laps in is one of those things. Get out, get some walking, and so it doesn't matter if it's raining or whatever. We open at 9:00. We invite you to come on out and see us.
What he's describing, folks, and if you can't see it from inside the Green Room studio here,
It's
on
hard
the
to
feed,
see from
but the vast majority of the plant life is undercover now. I mean, you've got the big trees that can't be moved in, I'm sure.
And we don't move those in.
Right.
They don't need to be moved in. But we have moved in most everything else into our, what the staff here lovingly refers to as the Bates trim.
It's nice.
And it's a nice connected structure from the checkout all the way back through the greenhouse area. So all of our, most everything, I would say 90% of what we have is all indoors now. So you can come out and shop.
Cool.
And even if you don't get it planted today, it's a great day to procure and be ready, because we've got really nice weather conditions coming up. A lot of sunshine in the coming week. We seem to be in this weekend showers pattern, and this week seems to be no exception. And we've got some weekend showers, and then we're going to be back to sunshine and partly sunny, partly cloudy conditions throughout the rest of the week.
Nice.
Josh, without further ado, I think it's time to talk to the rest of the folks here in the studio.
They are here.
Hey, number one, we've got Tyler Blankenship right here. Good morning, Tyler.
Good morning.
In.
Good morning,
We appreciate you being here this morning and getting us all going. And, of course, two of our deep dive answer people here on the program, and also color commentary. You know, this is not just answers that are starkly correct. We do add a lot of color to them.
Wouldn't make anything
I'm not
up.
saying we're making it up. Austin Lowen, Caroline Gang. Good morning, guys. Welcome in.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hey,
We just like faded
that
into
cool
it.
crossfade.
It's because that I took a long time to come out with the with your names in the introduction. So welcome in, guys. Great to see you this morning.
Good to be here.
Wonderful
glad
to
to be
be
seen.
here. I can't get over that crossfade. That was amazing. I didn't know you could do that,
Oh
Tyler.
yeah, I'm full of secrets.
I like that.
You're full of
And
surprises.
you know
Good.
what? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that we've got a boxwood theme going on today. It would
Really?
appear that we have got boxwood. Look at it, boxwood everywhere.
yeah.
What a
We're
wonderful.
inside the boxwood.
What a wonderful thing. If only someone in the studio had had an issue with boxwood over the winter, or anyone who might be watching. I think that's the one thing that almost everyone who is a gardening enthusiast, if you had even a single boxwood in your landscape, you probably had some issues with it. We had a lot of death and destruction and damage on boxwoods this year, and Austin, you were not the exception to that.
No, I was not. Everybody knows this. I was not the exception.
You were the most passionate, though.
I was passionate about losing them, and they're gone. But I did do something, and I don't know when that's coming up. But we decided to do the whole green room today in boxwood, and I'll say this. This has happened a number of times here at the nursery. I'll get a customer come in and they'll ask me. They'll be like, "Hey, I need a boxwood," and I'm like, "Okay, which kind do you want?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" Like, I thought there was boxwood, right? And I'm like, "No." Like in this studio alone, we've got like 6 different varieties of boxwood, and that's like, I don't know, a third of the amount of varieties we sell. Like
It's a
there's cultivars all over the place, and everyone in here is different.
Yeah, and many of the differences between the cultivars of boxwoods are fairly nuanced. So if you're not really horticulturally keen, you might not notice these subtle differences in growth habit, leaf structure,
Right.
all of the various things that differentiate one cultivar from another.
But side by side, you can see it.
Yes.
Side by side, you can, yeah.
But even if you put them across the aisle from each other,
Really?
they look inherently a whole lot more similar than different.
Right.
So it gets down to kind of a nerdy horticultural thing, but there are distinct differences that would help people to make one choice over another as far as for what the ultimate growth habit might be, or their disease resistance, a whole list of criteria that might be important.
Now, the two that are directly beside Caroline and yourself that are on the higher plane, are they going to stay columnar like that?
That one actually does a little bit. It's a dwarf. That's Monrovia's kind of dwarf. They call it petite pillar. Okay, so petite obviously meaning small, but pillar being more upright in habit. So its tag claims that it gets about 3 feet tall and 2 feet wide.
Okay.
So that's a pretty small boxwood.
You know, when I see the term pillar used, it's not. They don't call it columnar because columnar would suggest that it's a little
and slim.
thinner.
Yeah.
So the pillar is a little more stocky.
Yeah.
It's not an ovoid, or it's not a 1-to-1 ratio kind of a growth habit like your traditional boxwoods are, but it definitely is not straight up.
Yeah.
Although those do exist.
They definitely do. You know, one of our most fun games we play out here at the nursery is, hey, identify this. So a customer will come in with a picture on their phone, and we'll have to identify the plant that they've got, and then we try to help them find it or whatever. And it's always the trickiest and probably the hardest whenever a call comes across the radio that says, hey, we've got a guest here that needs to identify a boxwood. Because you got to have a keen eye to identify a boxwood from a photo.
I think you're pretty good at it.
I've gotten good at it.
Well, we've had
The best I
no
know.
shortage of practice this year, but it is a little more difficult when you're dealing with the plants that are devoid of foliage. There's a little more
Actually looking at
guesswork
the
involved.
sticks.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Speaking of looking at sticks or not looking at, are we gonna go ahead and bring that photo up?
All we're talking about.
It is still the root zone of the dead one. So
Yeah, you will be digging them up.
Yeah.
'Cause they'll
You
go,
know-
what is this stick doing? This dead stick doing in the ground? What,
I know. You know what's funny is with the spacing that I had to do, which by the way, I was very meticulous as you could imagine. I had a tape measure out there. Every single one of those boxwoods are spaced out 27 inches apart from center to center. Okay, perfectly straight. And the way the spacing was is I had to actually dig up. Or I say dig up. I didn't even have to put a shovel in the ground. I could literally just pull them out of the ground. I had to remove 2 of the boxwood, the old boxwoods.
You mean
looked
those that
dead.
are going to push out new growth in the spring?
Yeah. That,
with the dead roots.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, David. When I pulled the 2 out, like I said, I did not need a shovel. I could just grab the sticks and yank them out of the earth like a carrot. That's what I did. But anyway, they're replanted, and it looks great.
It does look
It
great.
does. It's a very
Yes,
straight
fade
line.
in, Tyler. Oh, it's so
Commanding
good.
General, Austin, the commanding general at Camp Lejeune would like to talk to you because that is military precision.
It was. It's pretty good. You know, down at the end a little bit, there's one boxwood that's like bigger than the other one, so it looks like it's not in a straight line really, but it is. Okay? It's as straight as I could get it.
One
They're
flush,
so cute.
One flush and another trim this spring, and that'll all be rectified.
Oh, it's so good.
cool.
And those
So
sleepy
good.
allium there
Yeah,
in
the
the front.
alliums out in front. Those are awesome. Love those. Oh, and then I place all the petunias around them, and they just nuzzle on in. I've made up that word.
Nuzzle?
Nuzzle is not
You
a word.
said it
It's-
yesterday
it's
for the no down.
Nestle and nuzzle.
Okay.
Nuzzle.
Well, I mixed the two, and
You
that's
made
what
something
happens with the
happen.
petunias. They nuzzle on in.
They nestle on in.
Well, I know that there are just people chomping at the bit to talk about boxwoods or perhaps even other things.
Wow.
So I'm relying on you, Caroline, to bring forth some questions.
We do have some good questions. We have a lot of pruning questions today. But before we get to the questions, I do want Austin to give a rundown on why boxwoods are his favorite, because we haven't really discussed that. And I know our viewers are wondering, what is it about boxwoods that make you so
And it's
passionate?
not just Austin. Shannon who works here. You know, I think Shannon's actually on the top of the list.
He
but-
might be.
but he's not here. So go ahead.
I think I love boxwoods because they're super tidy. Okay, but as y'all know, I'm a little bit more of a tidy gardener. It's not like flowy for me all that much. I like things. Look at that. Thanks,
That's
Tyler.
flowy.
Tidy.
We'll talk about that later,
We're
Tyler.
gonna talk about that later.
Tyler, you weren't supposed to zoom down to that yet.
No, not yet. What I love most about boxwood is the spring flush. When you have a deep dark green at the base and then you see fresh, beautiful new foliage emerge super tight above the shrub for like 2 months. It literally the new growth is persistent for that long. It's just beautiful to me. They're just I don't know.
And you,
great.
and you do get that opportunity as a boxwood owner to really get a nice tight shear before there's any signs of new growth. I'm talking mid to late February. And by doing so, you get that gift of that wonderful flush of growth. So obviously, the Justin Browards you've got out front are already primed and ready to go. Looks like your boxwood in behind may still want a little trim.
They could use a little bit.
Just a little, not
Yeah,
a lot.
not much.
Just a tiny one.
I've never really trimmed them all that much, besides just a couple wild hairs here and there.
That's about it.
Yeah, those are green velvets in the back, which is probably our best selling boxwood here, I would say.
And my favorite.
It's a beautiful plant.
I think it's one of the more widely grown cultivars.
That's the little
and-
baby ones right here in front of me, too. Yeah.
And
Nice.
they're very disease resistant and they're very good growers. So
They
you know,
are. Mine didn't take a hit this December freeze. So
well, there you go.
Yeah,
and
most
I will
velvets didn't.
say, before meeting Austin, I did not like boxwoods, and I never would have planted them in my landscaping. And now I have 13 of them, and I love them. So thank you, Austin. You
I'm telling
converted
you.
me to loving boxwoods. All right, let's dive into some questions.
Let's
First
do
up,
it.
we've got a question about pruning a Japanese maple. Old Japanese maples never prune properly. Can it be saved and reshaped?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to be saved. It's alive. It just needs to be reshaped, which can certainly be done. I really like doing that. I do that on the side, actually, every once in a while for people that need the Japanese maple to get kind of back in check. I'll kind of come out and help you, figure out what limbs you want to keep, what we don't want to keep, take all the dead that's out of the interior. A lot of times Japanese maples get a lot of dead sticks on the interior
And
of the
that's
plant.
really where it always starts.
It is.
Getting that dead out.
Get the dead out first, always. Get the dead out first, get the diseased-looking branches out, and get, crossing limbs out. Once you do that, getting that done first will change that plant dramatically right off the rip. And then after that, you just shape as you need to. I know Japanese maples are expensive. I know they're funky. I know they're odd, and they're cool, and we love them, and a lot of times people are scared of them. They're scared to cut them. But really, a planted Japanese maple that's been there for a while can be cut almost like any other plant just to get it back in check. So don't be scared of it. Okay?
Go on and get it.
Don't be scared.
Don't be scared
Don't
of
be
it.
scared. They are just so fancy that
They are, I know. It makes people nervous.
I've gotten comfortable pruning mine after some time, but it took a minute. All right, our next question. I know there's somebody who's not in this room that might have some stuff to say. I know Renee, right, has a smoke bush that
Yes, she does.
prunes. So our question is about that. It says smoke bush, when to prune and how low do we go? I really want one of these. Austin hates them.
I can't stand a smoke tree.
I love them.
Well, I mean, they're a pretty aggressive grower first and foremost, and consequently, ours gets cut back nearly to the ground pretty much every year.
Yeah.
And if you do that early, you get the best of all worlds that a smoke tree or smoke bush, however you want to call it, a
Right.
Cotinus, what has to offer, in that you get that flush of colorful growth, particularly if it's a purple foliated cultivar. You get great new growth, and then you get the flowers that come on in the summer, or the smoke
Late,
effect.
Yeah.
But it does require pretty severe pruning every year. Otherwise, they'll just get too big. And we've got one that's in a planter out near the street, and were it not for the fact that she really cuts on that thing severely every year, it would overgrow the area, and ultimately we'll have to pull it out and put something else back in.
I wish my backdoor neighbor would take this advice, because
won't trim it.
Well, they planted them as a privacy hedge. I mean, on the perimeter of the house.
They'll work
but they
for
have
that.
gotten huge.
Yeah.
But down below, they've gotten
Well, they get very thin.
skinny
Yeah.
and bare. And so
That's what they do, and that's what David's suggestion is perfect. Like, you got to take them near to the ground, like, honestly. And if you want a smoke bush,
Yep.
then you have to do that, like really close to the ground, and it will look more bushy. And like David said, the new growth that comes out is so vivid and purple in the spring that, like, that's what you want. That's the key to a smoke bush. But like Josh said, they turn into smoke trees
Yes.
if you don't cut them, and they get bare at the base and just have foliage at the top.
Yeah, and the reason for that is that they are a full sun plant. They're not a shade plant, and so as they grow, they shade themselves. So the lower leaves drop off because they're no longer producing photosynthesis. Therefore, the plant does not need them. They go from being an asset to a liability. The plant says, "I'm done with those." So the only way to deal with that is to cut them back every year. They are growing machines.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do
Yes.
not have to worry about it not still doing the coverage that you want it to do, but cut them way back. You don't have to cut them to the ground, but if you could cut them back to, like, 3,
Well,
4 feet.
in this setting, when they were, I'd say 4 years ago, before they really started to show their legs,
Right.
it was absolutely stunning when they were in full bloom. Absolutely beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, and it worked
Because
for
the flowers are close enough to the eye level to where that you can appreciate them. If you just let them go.
and it functioned very well for the privacy screen. I mean, it really did do.
Well,
both.
this may be a clip you need to send to your neighbor just to kind of go, hey, this little segment right here. Possibly.
Okay, maybe
Maybe.
We'll see.
I'm going to get one day.
they're gorgeous. Absolutely.
They are. Every time I see one, I'm like, wow, why do I not have one? Because I have one of every plant. And
Well, there's velvet cloak and there's royal purple and
These are more of a red.
Yeah,
foliage.
those are the red. There's also some green cultivars.
Oh,
and
wow.
I can't call the name of those off the top of my head,
Wow.
but the purple ones are in the reddish foliaged ones are the more popular.
Yeah, definitely.
and they have quite a look. All right, let's take a shift to talk about pruning arborvitae. How to prune an emerald green arborvitae that is huge and out of control.
Yeah, that's a little tricky.
Go
okay?
back in time.
Yeah. It's an emerald green. It's best to plant an emerald green where you should plant an emerald green because they don't necessarily take a trimming well. And once they've gotten huge like that, it's kind of hard to give them a trim. Now, can you do it? Yes. But it's going to look funny probably for a season or so. What my recommendation is if you want to shorten it in height is that you go to where you want it to be height-wise, and then you have to just clear top it. I hate to say that, but you kind of, what else are you going to do?
Give it a flat top.
You give it a flat top, but then after you top it, you shear it tight to make a tip again. Does that make sense to y'all?
Yes.
Yeah. So do this in late February, early March to get it pruned up back tight, and then hopefully you keep enough foliage on that to where it's going to bust back out and grow again and still look manicured a little bit better. But you got to go in and just top it. That's the only way to achieve your height change. You know.
Yeah, and what you're also going to achieve by doing that is you're going to change the natural form of the plant,
Right,
where
yes.
it's going to become a fatter looking and certainly less of a spire, decidedly much less of a spire. Now, it's true with all conifers that you need to trim them all along. And to Austin's point, the mistakes that most commonly get made is people allow them to go for numerous years beyond what they should have been trimmed. So my little remark before he started talking about going back in time, that's what you really need to be able to do, is to time travel backwards and trim it 2 or 3 years ago. That way you don't have to trim it so severe. You can trim it a little more judiciously and less severely, and it'll grow back out of that. When you cut a conifer back to where you have removed all foliage off of it, you don't get predictable, nice, even new growth coming back out. So that is part of the problem. You'll get that top growth where it'll come back out, but if you do it hard on the sides like that, it won't be that vigorous coming back out. So you need to just be mindful of that.
If you need tips, my daughter and I watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure again for her first time last night.
It's so good. It's one of my favorite movies.
Good.
Yeah.
Going back in time.
She cackled. I mean, it was.
Was it the first one you
the
watched?
very first one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you see the new one that came out a few years ago? I know
haven't,
this isn't
no.
gardening, but so good. You got to see that one.
Movie reviews and gardening.
And
all
Oh,
in
it
one.
ties in. You
and
have to
time
go back
travel
in
and
time.
plants.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So, with us just talking about the arborvitae that needs to be trimmed down, Austin and I were actually just talking about how people just don't really think about how big plants get, and they'll plant something right on their house. So, just something to consider when you get a new plant. Do your research or ask, the landscape specialists that are helping you at whatever garden center you go to, because I see so many things that are planted right on a house, especially right when they get them, even if they are like 6 feet tall, but then it's going to eat your house. And I had to move some limelight hydrangeas because of that.
Yeah.
And speaking of limelight hydrangeas, y'all, we got a question about pruning limelight hydrangeas. Every week we get one. When should you cut limelight hydrangeas down? I've seen conflicting info. Are they talking about us and all our opinions on the blooms?
It might be.
I don't know.
Because we're all conflicted with our opinions.
I'm not conflicted with my own opinion. I know what I like.
All right, so the simple answer to this is you can cut a limelight hydrangea any time over the wintertime after it's dropped dormant. Do you want to do that? Do you like the old spent blooms that are up? If you do, leave them up for a while. If you don't, and you're like me and you like them clean and cut back, then just take them now. It doesn't matter. Whenever they lose their leaves, whenever it's dormant, take them back whenever you want to. Just make sure you get them cut before the early spring flush is really all you got to know. And you need to do it. Limelights deserve to be cut. They get way too big. And if you leave them too big, then they get leggy and they flop. So make sure you take those stems back to nice sturdy stems and take any weak or dead or dying diseased wood. And they'll be great.
I think they're one of the easiest and most fun things to prune because you can't go wrong.
You can.
One of the reasons why people have to be concerned about pruning is that things are growing well.
Yes, they
and when
are.
things grow well, there's a reason for that. And that reason is probably Earth Mix garden products.
See, my first thought.
The complete line of Earth Mix garden products helps you to not just have plants that hang on and survive, it's plants that really thrive and do exceptionally well. And if you do that, and as Josh will say, all you got to add is sunshine and water.
Yeah.
You do that, you're going to have plants that really grow off and flourish and really give you the maximum growth, flowering, all the attributes you're looking for. And of course, it's 100% organic, which means is no matter whether you're using it for ornamental use in your landscape or if you're using it for vegetable gardening or fruiting plants, there's no chemicals whatsoever in any Earth Mix products. The only things that are added in there are things that Mother Nature provides, just done at an additional level. Things such as mycorrhiza fungi, both endo and ecto, by the way.
Endo and ecto?
Yes, and humic acid. So when you buy products such as Earth Mix Supernatural, Garden, Proganics O, Landscape, all those products bring all those benefits to your soil, therefore to your plant. So Earth Mix garden products are available all over Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, Southern Indiana, Northern Alabama. Go to the Find Earth Mix. I'm not going to click on it this week. Find Earth Mix tab. All the little pins will come up there. You can either zoom in to the one nearest you, or you can put your address into the box for turn-by-turn directions for the locations nearest you. We really recommend you support your local independent garden center. So go out there and check them out at earthmix.net. And remember this, success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use EarthMix garden products. And we appreciate you giving us a moment.
Folks, don't forget, if your garden center does not have EarthMix, it's easy to get if they want it.
Yeah, just say, hey, how come you don't carry that?
Yeah, I mean, they can. There are ways that people can get it.
And there is an ever-growing list. Tyler spent this past weekend at the. Why don't you just give us a little overview of what you did this past weekend?
So I attended the Tennessee Local Food Summit, which happened in Lebanon, Tennessee. This is EarthMix's second year showing out and supporting that event.
If you're from Lebanon,
it's Lebanon.
Lebanon. And so we had a great time discussing both with people who have used EarthMix and people who haven't, and really locking in with our local food web community, farms, market gardeners, even hobbyist urban gardeners who all, I feel like, are there for the common mission of growing really good, as naturally as possible, good produce and food, and that when everybody contributes to everybody's success, that the community as a whole is uplifted.
absolutely.
That's what I got from the conference. So TN Local Food on Instagram, if you want to check them out. They're going to be doing lots more events throughout the year to the next summit. We hope to do some things at Bates Nursery in cahoots with them to keep this mission going, because if there's one thing that I know, like, it's super important to us for EarthMix and for our community at large. And even the Tennessee Ag Commissioner who was there and spoke said this, COVID taught us a lesson that our food security is no joke, and we need more people farming and growing good produce so Tennessee can support itself. So,
all right. Well, thank you for sharing that and for representing EarthMix Garden Products and for the efforts we make to that end, because we really are passionate about the organic aspect of it, and it has never been anything other than that product. I think it's fashionable now. You see even a lot of the big producers of manufactured soil products that are, organic is kind of their new thing, but it's not their bread and butter. And that's really all that is done with EarthMix Garden Products. It's all about the organics. It's all about achieving the best results without putting any kind of chemicals in there to achieve that. And it can be done, and it is done through EarthMix Garden Products. So thank you, Tyler. And
yes. So if you're looking for a regionally local organic alternative to the big guys that might save you a buck or two, ask your garden center.
Yep.
Say, hey,
get it.
info@earthmix.net.
There you go.
Give them that email.
Thank you.
Austin, your comment about limelights has proceeded to give us a couple of more questions. Now, what you were speaking about cutting specifically limelights, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, because we've had two questions. One's from Risha, our good friend from Smyrna.
Hey, Rish.
And she needs to replace two. She needs to replace two ruby reds right now. It's a good. Can they still get them?
Ruby red.
Ruby red, ruby slippers.
Ruby slippers.
Yeah, oak
That's
leaves.
Gotcha. That's an oak leaf, so a little bit different, but not too much, honestly.
Okay.
Oak leaves do bloom off old wood, much different than limelight. Okay?
Right.
Limelight is a new wood grower, so if you cut limelight to the dirt, it's going to send up new stems and bloom off of that. If you cut an oak leaf to the dirt, it'll send up new stems and not bloom off of that.
Okay.
Now, sometimes you got to do that, though.
You do. David's right. They get huge.
We've got Silver Queen at that's a supposedly dwarf cultivar of
Right.
oak leaf. That are, of course, there are no actual dwarfs.
You're
But
so right, David. I'm glad you said that.
But so to make them more dwarf, we had to cut them back every 2 or 3 years and sacrifice 1 year of flowering, which
Yes.
is a reasonable sacrifice.
So it's more of a hobbit than a dwarf.
Yes, I would
Okay,
say.
because Kimberly is wanting to know about can she do the same thing with Pinky Winky as well?
Pinky Winky is a limelight type, if you will, to make it easy. It's a panicle hydrangea. So, yes, cut that exactly the same as you would a limelight, very severely.
It just hurts me to say that name. I don't know why. I'm just not they thought long and hard, and then they didn't know how to
They stole it
abandon
from
it.
Teletubbies.
Is it like the
anyway.
word moist, David? Some people don't like that. Sorry if
Moist?
I've, yeah. Some people have a visceral reaction when you say that. Yeah, like Pinky Winky, is that to
Well,
you?
I mean, I guess it's a good thing I use damp in my newsletter. Rather
Keep
than,
using damp.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Austin, do you think some confusion about hydrangea care is just because there are some that bloom on the new wood, and so it just makes this trepidation like, I can't prune this because what if the blooms are sacrificed?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. People never really remember which species they need to prune, but everybody for some reason knows that they can't do certain things, or there's something that they need to know about hydrangea. You know what I mean? Like everyone's like, do I cut this one? Do I not cut this one? Like everybody knows there's this technique involved, but there's it's not that bad. It's just that there's the ones that do bloom off new wood, just like write it down or something. Just like have it.
Here's another little tip for whatever might be flowering. If you will, if it's as long as it's not a fruiting plant, if you will trim it right after it flowers, you cannot go wrong.
Pretty much.
Right.
I mean, can you think of an exception to that, Austin? I can't think of one.
No, I can't. Not off the top of my head. I mean,
So, you pretty much, if you'll just, okay, it's time to trim it because the flowers are gone, you know that you will not interrupt the bloom cycle on it.
Right. And if
by
you got
doing so.
questions now, what I do is I have a big manila envelope that is full of these things.
You keep your tags. Brent from Monrovia and I were talking about that just
Yep.
the other day.
And if you, particularly with the hydrangeas, which you don't know, because I mean the panicles and the other ones, there's so many varieties of them. It's hard to keep up with.
And
There-
if you're
some of them-
out shopping here or other independent garden centers, and you want to retain that information, just take your camera and take photographs. Don't pull the tags off.
No,
please,
I
'cause
wouldn't.
if they're yours and you're taking them home, it's one thing. But we
Don't
ask that you
snatch 'em.
don't pull the tags off the plants because other people want that information. But by all means, take photographs of it and you can capture that information. We all have these little high quality digital devices in our pockets, so there you go.
and
Or you
Josh-
could be like me and just leave the tags on the plant after you plant it,
Yeah.
so the instruction manual's always there.
like your
There you
Paper
go.
blowing in
especially
the
the
wind.
Isley stuff. You leave those on there so they flap in the wind.
It's
and
the
everybody.
it's the mini pearl effect.
Yep.
Yeah, and Josh, I think you just made a great point. What you just said. You just said there's so many varieties of hydrangea, and you are so right about that. So many varieties, but there's only about 5 different species that we sell.
Right.
And it's the individual cultivars within the species that we need to know how to prune. Okay, so the 2 species that you can prune are the arborescens and the paniculatas. Those are the
Sure
ones
they
bloom off new wood. The other 3, that's going to be oak leaf. It's going to be the endless summer collection, and it's going to be our mountain hydrangeas, which is the serratas. Those are the ones you have to leave the wood up, and that's really all you got to know. The 3 species versus the 2. Within cultivars,
And,
it doesn't
right
matter.
now we all remember, but in 30 seconds,
It's
will
gone.
we?
What?
It's gone.
What?
So I do want to hop on here real fast.
Okay.
Austin might not know this yet, but Tyler and I have been working on the webinar schedule for the winter. And we are going to have Austin do one that's pruning hydrangeas across the board. So
It's a
we're gonna
master
go
class.
through everything. Yes, a master class.
Can we do 2
in pruning.
versions? The high energy version and just the informational version.
No. It's all together.
It's all going to be combined together.
All together. I'm going to actually prune them too. I'm going to prune them right on camera just so you can watch.
All right.
It'll be entertaining and educational. You'll get to learn so much about that because it's a lot. I would say it's one of the biggest, categories of questions we get here at the nursery.
Oh, it's some of the biggest. And it's going to be an easy one for me because for the 3 species I talked about that you don't cut, I'm going to put them on the table and I'm going to say, don't cut this. And then put it back down. And then the other 2 I'll prune.
And then you'll prune away.
There you
Okay.
go.
It's coming.
I'm excited about that.
I am too.
All right, so we've got a special guest in the studio today for What's in Room. And we've got Austin that's going to take on that.
What's in room with
Caroline.
Austin?
And you know what I say? Let's see how quickly he can name all the boxwoods that we brought in studio without looking at tags.
Okay. Petite pillar right here. Winter gem right here. Buxus microphylla.
Wow.
Micro meaning small. Phylla meaning leaf. It's a small leaf boxwood. I love that. We were just talking about that yesterday. I love botanical names and how they get into that. Across the room there above David's head, the tall, skinny is called a Highlander. That's a Sempervirens type of boxwood, so an American boxwood. Right to David's right ear is a Globe American variegated boxwood that's been on a standard. It's got a single stem.
Back,
The
yeah.
beauty, too.
Single stem up to a round canopy, just the epitome of class.
If it weren't bought in burlap, I might pick it up and show you, but
Yeah.
it's really lovely.
Out in front of David and Josh, I have what I have at my house, which is the hedge of green velvets in the back poking up, and then those cute little Justin Browers right in front.
So
that are
this is
perfectly
your
round.
attempt to recreate what you have as your house
Yes.
here in studio.
It is.
I
That's
got
exactly
you.
what it is. And then to form the hedge up underneath the TV is the wintergreen boxwood, which is another microphylla type, and it's flushed out some pretty green growth.
Yep.
And that's what it is. And then we decided at the end, me and Caroline were looking, we did our display, and we looked at our table and we were like, our table's like really white. Like there's not enough on here. So we were like, let's get some boxwood leaves and throw them all out there. And
You
then we got
literally threw
into,
them.
and then we decided, let's get some Nandina berries
They
to
got
add some
competitive.
color. And then look at Caroline's side. Hers ended up super neat and tidy and beautiful. And my side looks like I literally ate boxwood leaves and nandinas and then just threw them up on the table.
Shocking.
Like in
You
person,
were
it looks
judging me
cute.
hard by mine when we started.
I was.
Caroline, I don't think so. We're going to spread them out. And I
Yeah,
said, I
and
have an idea.
And then you
The-
did better.
The other side of it is that I can tell by the number of berries on the table that you actually left some for sale on the one that you took off. Caroline,
I went wild. I took
she
them all. Every
took some
single
major.
one.
Yeah. Now as a kid, we used to have these little guns that shot these little silver balls out
You
of them.
did too,
Yeah.
huh?
But if we wanted to really get in trouble, we would steal berries because they would also fire
Oh, yeah, they
through
would.
those.
Yes.
So we got the guns taken away from us because we stole all the berries off the Nandinas and the Foster Hollies back in the day.
Well, I will say, if you could see Austin's from above, it does look a little bit more uniformed.
It looks
It's
cute
got a
in person.
pattern.
It looks stupid in
One of
camera.
the-
It looks like I
one of
didn't
the-
even
It doesn't
try.
look stupid.
It looks
One
like
of
I
these
just
days,
You spent more time on yours than I did mine.
Well, that's true. Every single boxwood's going the same direction. I did.
He
do
spent a
that.
long time, a couple hours actually
Shut
lining
up!
it up.
Don't tell David. I didn't spend a couple hours on it. It was like 12
He
minutes.
didn't. It,
Exactly 12.
I witnessed it.
He'll
It was
be
very
calculating
fast.
how much that costed. Look,
it looks great. I mean, they both look great. They both look very holiday themed.
They do.
very much so.
Very much so. All right, let's dive back into questions. So we got a
Okay.
question about hollies. I was reading this question and I was a little bit like, I wonder what this means. So let's see what everybody has to say about it. I cut back hollies. They grew branches all along the branches, i.e. aliens, and looks like bark is splitting.
Okay,
What would
read
we
that.
say about
Read
it?
that
I
again.
said
now.
branches all along the stems is what I inferred,
That
but,
could, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I know what this means. I think.
or maybe never mind.
Tyler, just kidding.
I already
Well,
did.
A ton of hollies this year, like mainly the red holly collection, is like an upright, kind of slowish growing holly. And I did notice they suffered a lot of dieback from the sticks back in tight to the stem. But what they did is they leafed out really tight to that stem. So there's a lot of green like on the interior of the plant, but then a lot of sticks on the outer part of that need to be pruned. So it's literally just needs to be cleaned up and take those dead sticks back to where you see foliage and then let that foliage bust next spring, which will, it'll bust out a lot more than it did this year. Looks like the bark is splitting. I don't know much about that. I mean, sometimes plants' barks can split a little bit and it's not necessarily the end of the world.
It just gets bigger sometimes. I mean, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it'll heal. Like a lot of times,
Yeah.
plants will be able to heal themselves whenever there's a split in the wood. And this could have happened last year with December freeze. Like it sometimes bark split a little. I noticed that a lot actually. A lot of bark split over the winter last year. But that's what I think you're talking about when it comes to the branches growing back along the other branches. You said. So hopefully that's helpful. Send us a picture, please. I want to
Yes.
see.
Yes.
I want to see these aliens.
Yeah,
Where do we
I-
send
I-
the
I just
pictures
think
to,
it's
folks?
I just think it's a lot of breaks that are coming off that older wood that survived, and it probably doesn't look quite normal because it's such thick. It could be that there's some.
Aliens.
Well, I mean,
Could
we don't
be.
call them aliens in the plant world. They're sports.
Sports.
So it could be that that's the case. There's some mutant growth,
MUFOs.
just mutant.
Okay. Okay.
But if you want to send photos, Josh did ask where to send those. gardeninginsideout@gmail.com is one place you can email. You can send them to us on Facebook and Instagram through the Messenger app.
And send us your phone number too, because a lot of times I just like to call you.
Send us your phone number too. Go
so
ahead,
we can-
give them.
Well, I like to call you and talk about it.
Do you
kinda.
call like after 10 o'clock at night? Yeah. Hey,
No.
Hey, I want to talk to you.
No, you don't want that.
Yes, you do.
Another pruning question here. I think it was a result of the hydrangea questions. Kimberly wants to know, what about rhododendrons? Do you cut them back? And then Donna chimed in and said, if it blooms before June, do not prune until after it blooms.
Hey, there you go. Good. That's a nice little rhyme.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job,
And
Donna.
rhododendron, certainly do not cut that now. Okay.
Ooh.
You
Not
cut
unless
that
you
now.
do not want it to flower.
Yeah, if you don't like a rhododendron to bloom, then cut it now. But no, don't cut it now. Please don't. Rhododendrons blooms are fantastic. They're phenomenal. Like
That's
I've said,
why you have them, probably.
the best bloomer on the planet. But if you cut them now, you are removing every single flower bud for next season. So don't do that. Now, after it does bloom, you can prune if you need to, if they're getting too big. But honestly, I don't recommend pruning a rhododendron if you can help it. Put it in the right spot so you don't have to prune it.
No, and if you're interested in other things that about what to prune and when to prune, and you kind of want to say, well, I don't really know for sure what I'm talking about, I'm going to suggest you come out and see us at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. You know, we've got this facility that is largely covered. Matter of fact, almost all of our plant material has been moved indoors now. So it doesn't matter if it's rain or if it's windy or if it's a little cold outside, we've got a controlled environment that allows you to take care of your gardening needs regardless of the time of year. So come on out and see us at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. We're able to offer this unique Bates trim difference.
Cool. Yeah, that's
And by offering the Bates trim, we have a complete indoor shopping environment, so you can shop at your leisure. Now there are still a few things that are outdoors. We have some our large shade trees that
they
don't
won't go through the door.
They don't go inside,
No.
so they do get left out. If it's severe, they do get covered, but they're largely outdoors all year long. But all the other smaller trees and shrubs are all inside. Come on out and check them out and talk to our landscape professionals. And we've got a staff of folks that really has a tremendous wealth of knowledge with respect to any subject matter regarding your plants. Now, one of the things, if you get my weekly newsletter, that means you are a Bates Rewards
Yes.
member. And if you're a Bates Rewards member, you're going to know that all plants right now are 20% off. And that also includes bags of Earth Mix Landscape. That's through December 14th. So check that out.
That's a fifth off. That's a fifth off.
That's a
David.
fifth off. Now, there are two exclusions,
Yeah.
Japanese maples and tropical foliage plants. You know, those are not included in it. But everything else, plant-wise, is included.
Wow.
As are bags of Earth Mix Landscape. You want the best product to get the best growing results out of your plants. Earth Mix Landscape sets you up in that direction. So come on out and see us. We're conveniently located 1 mile north of Briley Parkway at exit 19 on Whites Creek Pike. And that's just minutes from Rivergate, Opry Mills, Nashville West, downtown Nashville. And I promise you, no matter where you're driving from, it's worth the drive from anywhere. We have a selection of plant material and a depth of information from daily expertise. This is all we do. We don't do anything else. We are horticulturalists, and we're here to talk to you about your plants and help you work through your issues in your garden. Come see us, Bates Nursery and Garden Center, where we're rapidly approaching our 92nd anniversary. So, this is the time where we're seeing if David can make it to the 100th.
To the hundy?
Only 8 more
Now let's
years.
look at Bessie here. Now,
Yeah,
see
that's
where
my
Bessie is?
that's-
Okay,
yeah.
we're going to come back around to that because I got a point to make about where Bessie's up here on there.
Well, she's standing out in the backyard, and actually, the photographer, my brother Mark, and I were standing behind the photographer, and to get her to smile, he got her to say the word pumpernickel.
Pumpernickel? But you see all this stuff that's to Bessie's right?
Yes.
All that stuff's inside now, guys.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
a structure
that's-
actually in there now. So
Yeah.
that's part of the
That's the
historical
coolness.
stuff. We've got actually the metal pipe that that the greenhouse structure is built on, where she's standing in that photograph, all came from the original location. It's the only thing that's original from the 26th in Charlotte. So we got some
Cool.
We got some heirloom
Archaeological.
pipe that here on site. So come see us, Bates Nursery and Garden Center, and thanks for giving us a couple of minutes to talk about that.
Yes.
Really appreciate it.
I tell you all, go ahead, Carol.
Oh, I was just going to say, with that coming down to Bates, we do have some fertilizers and treatments on sale right now. It's kind of an end of the year blowout. A lot of them are going to be 50% off that are up in their own section by checkout. Yes, that sound effect, half off. And we still have pottery on sale. Actually, all that outdoor pottery is now half off of the markdown price.
There
What?
you go.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
Josh,
there
you
it
got to
is.
get more of those pots for even cheaper. And the indoor pottery is still on sale as well, marked down a little bit more.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So
That's
get
great
on
to
out
know. You
here.
can go ahead and get your fertilizer for next year. It just has store it in your
Yep.
shed, and then you can use it at half price or whatever. Like,
All
that's
you got to
great.
do is keep it
Yeah.
dry. It does
Yeah.
not go bad.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
Very cool.
I was just going to talk a little bit about the staff we have here at Bates and watching these. I'm a part of it. I was helping as well. But watching all of us work together to get those plants inside our Batrium was impressive, y'all. 3 days is all it took us to get every single one of our plants, which is like 1 million, into that greenhouse.
It's a
and
few
racked up.
less than that, but
Just a
yes.
few.
But
just a few. It felt like 1 million.
975,000, yes.
Yeah, but
I mean-
it's incredible. The guys, I mean, and
There you go.
girls are nuts with. I mean, we can get so much done so fast. Like we are a team,
Now,
y'all.
are you going to
So
bring
fast.
this shot up while you go? Keep talking, Austin. But Tyler's got a good graphic that he used
Yeah.
to, and I think that was up. So
Wow.
we do have they're loaded directly onto the floor. They're also in these metal racks you see along through there, and I was able to come up with those a couple of years ago. So we've got 150 of those más o menos of the more or less of the metal racks, and those.
What's
give us the-
normally in that spot, David?
Well, this is our shade area during the normal season, and this is the abnormal season, apparently, or also known as winter.
Normal?
Also known as winter.
And to
Okay.
answer your question, Josh, it's just that a lot of stuff is more spaced out.
Right.
Okay, so like this time of year, we really kind of have it crammed. So when you come out here, it's pretty tight. All right, so
But this time of year, it's fine to do that
It is.
because
Yeah.
it's not going to get hot. There's no new growth, so there's no and disease problems are nearly non-existent.
Yeah.
So it's a time of year where you can get a lot of stuff in a much smaller footprint. So come on out and check it out, and we'll help you even find what you're looking for, because part of the downside is that things are all in different places.
Yeah.
Except for the Japanese maples, they're still right where they were.
Yeah.
Everything else is somewhere else.
yeah,
Pretty
you're gonna
much.
probably have to ask for help because honestly, we have to go out and find it every once in a while. There's so many hands moving plants that you don't know where a lot of stuff ends up. So you got to go seek for it as well.
House
But
plants are still in the same spot.
There you go.
That has not changed.
Yep.
All right, let's get to some more questions. We have a question about zebra grass, just how to care for it.
How to care for zebra
Let's talk
grass?
about it.
Just plant it.
Leave it alone, yeah.
Pretty
Just
much.
get it in the ground.
You're going to cut it once a year during dormancy, like we've talked about many a times. Either leave it up through the wintertime to let it stay up and kind of tannish, brownish, whatever. Leave it up, and then whenever you see signs of new growth in the spring, just chop it, and it's coming right back. You can't barely kill zebra grass.
I haven't planted that one.
It's one of those grasses that it's bad about reverting to the
Just green.
to just green. So you either need to cut those parts out completely or just live with it. Either way works.
A mono zebra.
It just goes back to green, and
okay.
it's nothing particularly spectacular about that. But it's that's why you don't see it so much produced anymore, because it's bad about reverting.
Won't have those stripes anymore. And you'd have to change the name. All right, bagworms on cedar. Is it always a disaster, or will it be okay to leave?
Don't leave it if you can help it, because it can be a disaster, most definitely. Now, I don't know what kind of cedar we're talking about or how big the cedar tree is. If it's a big old native cedar tree out in just the yard or whatever, they can live with some bagworm damage, but 1 turns to 10 and then 10 turns to 1,000.
Yeah,
So
actually, each one of those each little pouch can have several hundred
Yes.
little crawlers come out of it. So that's the real danger of. They're not going to do anything right now.
No, I get them all that you can see.
Yes.
And keep picking. And
Yep.
They're kind of fun to pick. I
You,
mean, just
you
take 'em
know,
all.
you know what
Oh,
the
they're
best
gross.
way to find them if you're picking them off something is to look upside down. I don't know why they appear when you're looking at them either with your head rotated. they blend in otherwise. So look at them upside down. You'll see a bunch.
Get your grandchildren out there and put a penny a pouch on
There you go.
Bounty, and
Yeah.
you'd be
And
surprised.
then they'll be renegotiating their contract for a dime.
I think we got up to a nickel at one point in time. So
They're nasty. I get grossed out by them.
Question on YouTube: how do you feel about burning tall grasses? Good or bad?
We were talking about that yesterday.
This was a very, very common method to do back in the day. A lot of people, that was just kind of the way you did it. And honestly, it seems to work just fine. I've never done it myself, but I know that if you put a match or a lighter down at the base of a grass when it's tan, it's going up quick. It's gone.
Yeah, now if you live in a house that has vinyl siding,
don't
probably
do this.
not a
Yes.
good practice.
Yeah,
so
like
you
y'all
need to be situationally
Wood
aware.
siding.
Wood's
don't
not
do
a good
that.
idea.
Don't-
Yeah, I pass a house going home every year, and it's been there forever since I've been a kid. And he burns his grasses every single year. And the reason I know this is because you can see, and this is what's going to happen with you, is that you will leave a big black ring above the grass, and that will persist for a little while. So if you're okay with looking at a black burnt ring, like you just had a campfire there or something, then it's okay to do.
Hey, would that fly at your house, Josh?
No.
Okay, I'm just gonna say that it would not
That's
fly
what
at
I'm
mine
saying.
either.
Yep, you're going to see that black pit whenever you're done.
Whenever you're done. Yeah, I've never burned grasses. Sounds fun though.
I have.
And Gina, I want to mention you purchased a Dura Heat River Birch from Bates. Thank you. And purchased some landscape for planting. And the smell of the earth mix was so nice compared to other compost types I've used.
Oh.
And
You know
Thank
why? I tell you very quickly because it's completely composted.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you smell a compost that has a stench to it,
It's
that
not
means
finished.
it is still composting, still actively in that state, and it's consequently it's producing hydrogen sulfide and methane gas.
Ooh.
Those are things that are when you still smell those things happening. It's an indication that the composting is not complete.
Can
So-
that pull nitrogen from the soil?
Yeah, it actually does, Josh.
Yeah.
It can
Nitrogen fix.
it'll jump in there and it's still fixating nitrogen. So it's all a part of that process. So that's a great observation. It should smell really pleasant.
Yep.
almost sweet sometimes.
Yes.
Earthy.
Okay, let's talk azaleas. Someone is wondering why their azalea leaves are turning yellow.
Okay, azaleas in the wintertime. Hopefully, you're not talking about the topmost growth of your azaleas because azaleas naturally on the interior most part of the plant and the interior leaves do turn yellow. Come to our lot right now, look at our azalea section, and look at how many yellow leaves there are towards the interior. Totally natural. We don't do anything about this because it's part of the process of an evergreen plant. The great thing about an azalea is it's an evergreen, beautiful flowering plant, okay? So people love this, but they do naturally shed a little bit, and we are no different. Like I said here, we have yellowing leaves that are shedding right now. Hopefully that's what's happening with you. If you have yellow leaves on the outermost part of your plant and the whole plant just looks like off and sick a little bit or whatever, then this might be a fertilizing issue, which we need to turn around in the spring. A lot of times with iron. So a lot of times iron is needed for your azaleas.
So you can just like laying angle iron out there,
There you
and
go.
that'll take care of it.
Yeah.
It would be more like a 9-iron.
There you go. Take a 9-iron to your azalea.
No, you're talking about like chelated iron, some kind of a micronutrient you might add.
Right.
Now, I would contend that azaleas are nearly in the semi-broadleaf category, as are
Yeah.
nandinas. They're subject to quite a lot of defoliation. As a natural function, it's not an indication that there's anything wrong with them. They just naturally defoliate in the dormant season, and all that comes back out with the new flush of growth next spring. So it's normally not anything to be concerned about. And again, as you say, if it's lower down on the plant, just disregard it. They're going to drop off anyway. It's only if it's in the top of the plant. And if that's the case, it's probably indicative of other issues.
Wet feet, maybe?
Very likely, yes. So
Could be it. That is another webinar that you have to look forward to that we have Austin signed up for. What is going to
Wet
talk
feet?
about fertilizing.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you're wondering how to break down fertilizer labels or what you should use to help with something, we will be doing that. Again, those are going to be released this winter. We're going to start them in January.
Cool.
So make sure you check out the website. All right, our final question this morning comes from Miriam. Good morning, Miriam.
Miriam.
We haven't gotten a question from you in a minute. So
Where
it's
you
good to
been,
hear
Miriam?
From you again. Miriam is asking, how late is too late to plant trees?
3:45.
That one's good.
That's it.
That's it. 3:45.
Miriam, we've talked about this a lot. You know, you just can't plant when the ground's frozen, and the ground is rarely ever frozen here. So when's it too late to plant a tree? Never. You know when it's too late to plant a tree, actually? Dead of the summer.
Yes.
Don't plant in the dead of the summer. It's too hard on you. Got to water too much.
Hard on
The
you
plant's
and
too
hard
stressed.
on the plant.
Yes, it's too much. Over the wintertime is a great, like 100% better to plant in the winter than the dead of the summer. Okay? So there you go.
You're going to be working hard.
And
to
you
keep it
can
alive.
plant in the summer, but
Yeah.
it's a lot more work because of just what you said. You have to be totally responsible for keeping the water to that root system that's grown in a container that has not gotten into the soil around it. So if you've got time to be able to manage and do that, that's fine. But
Ground's like concrete as well.
it's a much more challenging time of year. It can be done successfully, but it requires diligence, to say the very least.
Now's my favorite time to plant.
Well, here I come talking about annuals versus these perennial trees and shrubs. Austin, do you want to talk about maybe why there's some confusion about when to plant annuals versus these trees and shrubs?
What kind of annuals are we talking about?
Yeah.
That's the thing, fall or spring or summer.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. Well, really, that's not too hard because the only really annual you can plant is pansies that are going to last through the winter, and you should have already had those planted.
I did.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little late. We still have some pansies, and you can certainly plant pansies right now. They're not going to die or anything. They're just not going to grow very much. We try to get them in the earlier fall so they have a period of warmth during the days and chillier nights to where they can really grow and form a nice little plant, and then they'll flower atop of that pretty much through the whole wintertime. Now, when it comes to annual plants, you really just want to wait until like last frost freeze scenarios in the spring, which that's always a guessing game, as y'all know, here in Middle Tennessee. You never know. You want to get them petunias set out, and, you know, we might have something come up. Or you want to get your tomatoes set out for your vegetable garden. Those are also annual plants.
Yep.
But we have to wait. Really, like I've mentioned before, I'm kind of a May 1st guy with the vegetable plants and the annuals. There's some overlap, though. I mean, there's some that you can plant a little bit earlier. Like my petunias, I can get those in a lot earlier than most other annuals, like tomatoes or
They're
something.
very cold weather tolerant.
Yes, they are. So I just kind of know that. And so you come out here, talk to us, and we'll let you know which ones you can plant and which ones you shouldn't, because a late frost will really wreck annuals in the spring if you do it too early.
Yeah, and a lot of it is problematic, not just air temperature, but soil temperature.
Yes.
And if you try to get annuals in the ground, the warm season annuals in the ground, before the soil has warmed up, you are setting yourself up for a much greater likelihood of there being all kinds of issues associated with them growing off properly. So, to your point again, it's not just about air temperature, it's about letting the soil conditions get correct so that you can have good success. Again, as you said, petunias are a lot more adept at cooler weather conditions. They are much less affected by it. But wax begonias, for instance, or if you're planting things like peppers or tomato plants for vegetable gardening, you don't gain anything by trying to get them in the ground too early.
No, and if a frost comes, then ready, set, mush.
Yes.
Yeah, that's sad. We have that happen.
Tomatoes
here
got
with
real
people.
leggy. I got mine out last year too early. I mean, they got real leggy, and then you just
Everybody just needs to be real about tomato plants. By the time August rolls around, 99% of people are absolutely sick of them.
Yeah.
They're
So true.
They
Ran out of
they've
cans,
gotten
yeah.
too big. They've got, there's always a few people on the internet who've made this 20-foot tall trellis.
Why?
Well, they're
Yeah,
into
I know.
it, but most people are not into it. I mean, they're into it during May
Yes.
and June. By the time July rolls around, that interest begins to wane. It's just the nature of gardening.
You need some
really
tomatoes? No, I got plenty.
Yeah, I got that's exactly right.
No.
I planted 40.
Yeah.
Wait,
How
did
many's
you?
in,
You
how
did.
many's in your family? Two.
That's kind of like I planted like 23 this year, and I was the same way.
You planted 23 tomatoes this year?
I did.
I think I planted 8, and that was
I
more
had
than
five.
Different
and
different
we're
variety,
still-
Austin.
Oh yeah, all different varieties: heirlooms, hybrids, cherries. Well, you name it.
Did they all
Tyler.
live?
Okay,
Yeah,
then
they all live. What are you talking about?
While we're on that subject, quickly, what was of all your cultivars of tomatoes you had out there? What's your favorite?
Favorite to eat? Probably a beef steak this year.
Okay, well, what
Such
else
a
do you
good one.
do with them? I mean, what other criteria?
Sauces.
What? But you eat.
Oh, you
those.
mean well?
Salsa?
I kind of went in my brain. Yeah, we make salsa and such or whatever. But I went in my brain. I went two different things. So one, best taste, which I said that old heirloom beefsteak is
Right.
a flavorful, great tomato, but easiest to grow and most prolific. That's going to be your celebrity.
Absolutely.
Love that celebrity.
Well,
It's
Miss
money,
Mary,
Austin. It
Miss
is
Mary,
Much money.
Miss Mary, back in the day, who was our greenhouse manager for decades. She was a Bradley lover for a lot
Oh,
of years,
yeah.
and she made the transition to celebrity once they became hybridized and coming. That's how long ago she worked here. So
Oppo wouldn't plant anything. My father-in-law, who's no longer with us, he wouldn't have planted anything except Bradley's and Early Girls.
there you go.
Yeah. Hey, Bradley's still a great tomato.
Yes,
great tomato.
absolutely. Yeah.
Uh huh. I love tomatoes. Can't wait for that.
And if you are sick of tomatoes, try planting some berries because those are things you can plant right now,
Yep.
like raspberries and
Absolutely.
blueberries. I'm sorry, I'm a berry boy.
Yeah.
Hey,
My last fall gold raspberry
Oh.
literally ripened up just like a week or two ago.
and we're very sorry, but we've run out of time.
Yeah, but
Oh my goodness, we
the
have.
honeyberries at the proving ground
Zero.
out of here.
Outta here.
They're
Yeah.
gone this year. So.
Oh,
No honey.
not all that sweet as it turns out.
That was
An experiment that went.
we had like 13 in 13 years. 13
Yeah.
berries in 13 years. Okay.
That's honey
Hey,
bear.
they're,
No
they're not
kidding.
that. They're not that sweet either, are
They're
they?
kind of well. They don't taste very well.
They're not good.
No, they're not
Just
good.
saying.
All right, folks. The music means that this edition of the Gardening Inside Out show is coming to a close. But next Saturday morning, what are you going to do?
Well, hey, I'm going to be right here. How
I'm going to
about
be
you?
right here. The rest of the team going to be here next
I'll
week?
be here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get your Christmas shopping done. Get your Christmas lights up. And
Come in, see us.
Yes,
Bates
come on
Nursery.
out.
We're here till 4:00.
Walk through the mall down there. It's cool. It's
20%
really,
off like almost everything.
Yep. All right. Hey, folks. Thanks again for joining us. Share us out on social media. I heard a rumor about Instagram that we'll probably get something going with next week. Maybe.
We'll see.
Hopefully so.
Okay.
Jane says, "Way to grow, Austin."
We'll see you
you.
next time.